Okay, so I just wanted to go over a few things that I do to customize Maya. This is Maya 2016, which is the newest version. Some things real quick you'll notice is all the icons have changed. The view has really gotten a lot grayer, a lot more monochromatic. Um, but the thing I noticed the most, and it's also been bothering me the most, is the new deform menu. So I use the hotbox a lot. In here is in the rigging set menu is the deform menu, and you'll notice the deform menu is really long. When I click on it, it actually jumps up because I gotta. So now, not a big deal, but if you're working quickly, kind of sucks. Especially if you like your hotbox is down here and you click there. Okay, now you gotta go way up here. Um, Also, that same exact menu lives in your modeling menu set, and it also lives in your animation menu set. It starts out small like this, and then you can click on Open Full Deform menu, and you get the same exact menu again, really large. So there are ways to customize that to get rid of it, which I'm going to look into next. But in the meantime, what I did is I just made my own custom versions. So I go into my deform menu, I have a short create only deform menu, and under edit I added this one called edit deformers, which is just the second half of that menu, which is the edit deformers menu. That's the way it is in my 2015 and below. I like having those two menus because I think it's faster. I'd rather this menu was over here, but I haven't figured that one out yet. So in the meantime, it's going to live over there. The next thing you'll notice is I've gotten rid of all the menus that hang out. That's because I use that hotbox all the time. I'm just going to bring in a simple rig here. Okay, this isn't anything fancy. I just did a simple, quick thing just so we could look at some of the options. So the next thing you notice is my toolbox is pretty much empty. I still have those old tools in there if I want to show them, but 90% of the time I don't want to see those things. And I've made a little shelf here instead so I can drag and drop over to there if I want to. I also added a side shelf over here with a set of menus or a set of tools that I use a lot of times with channels, like changing the keyable state and stuff like that, or hiding and locking them, things like that, or showing them. That, incidentally, I go between these different shelves using the right mouse button on my marking menu here. And I do the same thing for my regular shelves as well. I don't like having those tabs up there. Just, what's the point? Just blocks things up. So it's really easy to set this up, and I even put one in for the sculpting, which is the new one, which I really like. So I put that in there. Status bar, I got rid of this little button here. I find it useless since I use the hotbox, and I think it just takes up too much space. That thing is really big. Along those same lines, I got rid of those buttons that are over the channel box over here. I don't know anybody who uses these. I never use them. I just use Shift and Control to change the speed of my mouse when I'm using that. Also in the status line, I've added a few of my own custom buttons of things that I use a lot. These buttons in particular are for different resolutions of my character. So I have a high-res sculpt here that I spent about 5 minutes on versus the medium, which is the one that I'm binding, and low, which I don't have anything yet. And then I added a bunch of the panels, which are these guys here, the same thing you do when you do a show. The only thing I did with this that I think is of good value is I have the isolate up there, which is no big deal, but if I want to quickly switch to another object, I can just quickly, sometimes it gets a little janky with 2016. It's just a quick way that I can isolate different things without having to go in there and have to deselect the isolation, reselect the isolation. It's kind of like doing like soloing, I can just hit that and be like, you know what? I actually wanted that sphere, so I hold Control and hit isolate, and or Alt, and now I get that thing instead. So, same thing goes with all the objects in the scene. These are your panel view. I just have an all or a none. If I click none, it shows me none. If I click geo, it'll show me just my geo. Incidentally, Alt W for show wireframe, Alt X to show X-ray, Alt Shift X-ray just to X-ray certain objects. So that I can do geo that'll turn it off. If I have everything showing and I hit Alt Geo, it'll isolate that, or Alt Curves, we'll just do curves, Alt Joints, we'll just do joints, Alt Lights, I don't have any lights. Or I'll hit none and then add the things that I want as I go. There we go. Let's see. Other things of note. Oh, yeah, sets. So in the outliner over here, I added a bunch of buttons for creating quick sets, which is a nice way to select stuff. It's not necessarily so much the creation, but the adding and removing that's a pain. So ordinarily, if I wanted to add something to the set, I can drag and drop it in there, which does work. But once it's in there, I actually can't drag it. I just don't think so unless they added it. Yeah, I can't drag it out. So I just add a little quick thing to remove it from the set. And just because sometimes you have a lot of objects and you don't want to be dragging and dropping in the outliner, I just added an add so we can add things quickly. I also made one to put sets into sets, and I keep them separate just because it makes it a little bit easier sometimes. So now that set is within that set, so I can do groupings like I do here, like my resolutions and stuff like that. Just a quick way to control those things. These things here you're seeing with the colored in the outliner is something I just recently added and I'm playing around with. Use outliner color, don't use outliner color, and then the particular color. So let's make that orange, and then it shows up as orange. It's kind of nice. I don't know. I haven't. I just started playing with that, and you can, hide or unhide objects, which everybody should have. Let's see. Hotkeys. Alt P will give me my tool settings, which I use all the time, no matter what you're doing. You're often. Hey, I haven't bound this. That's pretty funny. If I had a bound skeleton, I'd get that control there, but since I don't, it doesn't show up. But I'd get the tool settings for that. And I don't like having to go into, anything over here, show me two buttons, and double-click on it to get the tool settings. So I just made Alt-P, the tool settings. Alt-O for outliner. Incidentally, I changed my Control-A attribute editor. The only reason I do that is because if you have, say, an object here and you hit Control-A, that's all well and good the first time, unless they fixed it. Oh my god, did they fix it? Okay, no, they didn't fix it. So I hit Lambert again, and hit Control-A, and it pops it forward. In standard Maya, node editor, there we go. Let me rip it off and drop it behind. So it drops behind that node editor. I create a new object. I want to see its attributes. I hit Control-A, and it appears like nothing is happening. It's actually pulling it up, but since it's already up, it doesn't pop it in front of the node editor. It just drops behind. So the only way you could get around that was to kill it and open it up again. But as soon as you click off it, you lose it, and it's gone, which is why I just made it so it just always pops it forward, no matter what. And there it is again. Let's see. Oh, duplicate. That's pretty kind of a very simple one. Rename this to ball and group it. Normally when you do a duplicate, let's do it in regular Maya. Give me a sphere. Come here. I'll name it ball, and I'll group it. Normally when I Control-D that, now I have conflicting names. It's not a giant deal, but if you're using any Mel or any production or anything like that, sometimes, and it's gotten better in Maya, but sometimes that can really screw things up. So you don't want to use that. And they got rid of any sort of options for duplicate, so I go in and hack the script so that when I hit duplicate, it actually uses the rename children and gives these guys all unique names. Along those same lines, if you use Shift-D, it has the same problem. Now this is a completely different control. Shift-D is the duplicate with transform. You notice no settings again. So I go and hack that thing too so that they all get unique names as well, because I don't want to break everything. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Pickwalking. You should all be familiar with pickwalking. Put a little lattice on here because it's one of the good ways to see it. So you have standard pickwalking, just using your arrow keys and your page up and page down. I added the pickwalk add. This is something I've had since Maya 1.0, and everybody should have this. I don't know why it's not standard Maya, because it's super helpful. It's different from the expand, which I'm not getting in the on a lattice anyway, so it's kind of useless. But it also works on spheres, or should I say mesh objects. So if you do grow selection, you get all those guys. If I do pickwalking, I can be more explicit. Left to right, up, down, or I can pick through them. If I have a curve, it's very handy. You know, you have a point, you can pickwalk along your curve, you can add to that selection very easily. I suppose you can do, nope, grow selection isn't there either. So it's handy in that sense. And it's super handy on joints. So I have a joint selected. I can pick through its children or add to it as I go. Along with that, in the marking menus, I add select-hi for select hierarchy, so I get all my joints. Something that I do a lot. Sorry, I'm just getting used to these menus because they've moved around. If you have a joint chain, I just did a select-hi. I'm going to do a toggle local rotation axis to turn them all on. Anytime you work with joints, you always want to know what your local rotation axes are. And this is just one of those things that's sort of a working thing. You know, so if I select all, and I got that last one selected, when I go to rotate this, I'm going to get really unexpected results because my last axis does not match anything. It matches world space. It's actually not even a big deal. However, I often am doing this and going to rotate and things don't work right. So I just built in the parent-e-oj as well as the joint-e-zso. And these do different things. One is it sets the rotation axis to match its parent. So now if I select all these guys and I rotate in Z, they all rotate in Z. They all rotate in Y in the same ways, which is very handy. And then the ZSO, what that does is it actually makes your local rotation axes translation match. So the case that this is not the norm is with something like an arm. Still not used to that. So I turn them on there. I'm just going to mirror it. And you notice my X's are backwards. That's not very good. And also I have, well, no, actually, I shouldn't say that. It is what I want. But what I don't want is I don't want negative values on my translate X, especially if I'm using any sort of IK chains with spline IK. Spline IK does not like that. So what I do is I go in here. Oops, what did I hit? Whoops, wrong button. Sorry. Spin axis. There we go. And what I'm going to do is spin my axes so they face the right way, do that ZSO, which gives me all positives, and then spin my axis back. So now I'm actually still getting the correct rotations the way that I want them, but I'm also getting the translation set to the right way. Oh, incidentally, with joints, I might have to bind something here real quick. So I'm going to go here and just bind this thing real quick. And you'll notice when I go to here, I want to go back to that original bind pose. That's always there, go to bind pose. But I've added a few other things. So you have zero joint and this. Actually, no, go to bind pose isn't normally there, right? I forget because it's been so a while. Oh, I can't do any of this stuff I want to do. Yeah, set, assume, edit. That's all you get. So I added go to bind pose, which I use all the time. If you're using any kind of IK joint chain, you always want to set that preferred angle. So let me give another joint here. Yep. There we go. But I want to go back to 0 real quick without having to go to my channel box. I just put that there. Now the 0 joint just zeroes out my rotations. It leaves my translations and my scales alone. Now I can throw an IK handle on there, and away I go. Incidentally, you may have noticed I hit tilde to take me down to the script editor down here, and I hit Alt tilde. It takes me up to the numeric input. I use the numeric input all the time. You can do absolute, relative, rename, and select by name. Was there a ball? Let's see here. P-A-L-L? Nope. I don't know what I called it. Oh, I deleted all that stuff. It's just a nice way to get in there. If you have a bunch of objects, all right, all these guys here, all named sphere, I can go up there and I can say, you know what, rename them to cube. I know that's not what they are, but I don't care. But you can see those now. Also, let's say I want to put them all to 0, so I can just go, oops, dropped it. Oh, that was relative? Sorry, I'll go to move absolute, and they all drop to 0. The only thing that's a little bit of a pain with that, and hopefully this will get fixed, is when you're using, when you're dealing with pivots, and you type in just 0, it should drop each pivot down to 0, but keep the X and Y, but it doesn't actually do that. That's been broken for maybe 5 iterations of Maya. I have a script fix for that I haven't installed yet. Let's go back. Okay, great. But what you will notice is even if these guys are in different values, and I do that same thing, type in 0. Oh, whoops, I need to have them selected. They all drop to 0, 0, 0. Incidentally, which is kind of cool, when you're in relative, let's say we want to move them all slightly down, like 0.4, or up, sorry, they'll move up 0.4, or, -1. Why that doesn't work for the pivots, I don't know. It used to work, and then it broke, and they never fixed it. Oh, I might as well just look at the new hotkey editor while I'm here. I'm going to open that up. So this new hotkey editor, the nice thing is it shows you all the currently used hotkeys. I'm going to go to my custom scripts. Let's see what I got. I got all those. Yep. Looks like I covered them all. Just for my marking menus, I changed the left marking menu to have select by hierarchy, center pivot, change delete history, freeze transformation, 0 channels, which is different than freezing. Changes your display based on what you have selected. So if you ever select display set to none, even though I have that Raptor selected, it doesn't show up. If I have it set to display reduced, this used to be different, no longer different, and display full. Also, if I hit, where is it? Oh, I don't have it. I'll have to put it back in. In the right-hand side, I have my own custom tool shelf. I have a multi-connect window that I use all the time. I put the connection editor there because I use it all the time. I put the node editor there because I use the node editor constantly now. I'll open multiple ones. Just a nice quick, hey, did they change that? They changed it. Gotta fix that. Comment rename, which is the best renamer I've ever used and have used forever. I have a little rig window that has tons of tools that I use all the time. South, I showed you with the shelving changes. North, some joint tools. Selection handles. A lot of people don't use selection handles anymore. Not sure why that is. It just is. The thing that's cool about selection handles is in your hierarchy, they are number 1 over everything. And every object in Maya has a selection handle. So if I toggle the selection handles on, you get those little weird pluses. Now, normally, if I did a selection over this, I would get IK handles or I would get joints. But I don't think I got IK handles and joints and that. That's not how that's supposed to work. It should obey that. So those will just bring those guys to the forefront. Let's see, what else do I got in there? That's probably it. Oh, and the reason I have center pivot in there now is because they changed how that worked from 2015. This was actually something that bothered me a little bit, was that if you go to move your pivot and you select off the object, it would center your pivot. You can hold down, hit down the right mouse button and do reset pivot, which is center pivot. I don't know why they don't call it center pivot. And you can do just the orientation or just the pivot position if you so wish. But also I like just having a quick way to go. You know what, give me a center pivot. Same thing with delete history. It's kind of nice to have there. All right, I think that goes over everything. I did add a couple marking menus up here. So let's say I solo my joints, but I don't want IK handles. I'll just turn that off. Now I don't have IK handles showing in here. If I turn the IK handles back on, they'll come back. I can also turn off handles, which incidentally is also turning off those local rotation axes. Let's see, for curves, same sort of thing. I can just say don't show me my CVs if I don't want to see CVs. Geo, CVs, NURBs, curves, and polys if I want to be more specific. I just find that a little bit easier than going to this show menu and digging through it. And these are just the ones I use the most. All, none, geo I use that constantly. Oops. Isolate, plus, that sort of thing. All right, I think that goes through all the things I wanted to go through. Oh yeah, and just my middle marking, or my right mouse button in nothing, I've changed to have new scene, save scene as, a couple custom tools, open scene, minimize app, which is really handy if I want to just quickly get rid of Maya. I have a min all win, which will get rid of all the outstanding windows, kill them if I want to delete them. Set project, quit Maya, and reopen. I love reopen. This basically just says ignore all the changes and reopen my scene. So anything I did will be back to normal. All right, and of course grid is up there too. I almost never use the grid. I think that does it. And if you have any questions, let me know, and I hope that helps somebody.